Hello, friends, and welcome to welcome to Adventures in Pixieland and the morning edition of Bible study. We are in the NIV, which again, remember, it's this version of the Bible. It's just a version. It's okay if it's not your favorite version. We're doing the New Testament in 2024, the Old Testament in 2025, and in 2026. Well, we're just going to have to do a whole different version of the Bible. The idea is to read all the versions of the Bible, because I've actually wanted to do that since I was a little girl. So I'm sorry that people are salty about versions of the Bible, but I think they should really get a grip, honestly, that's my response. Most of the time, they're not even watching these videos. They're just commenting and never actually, you can tell, because I ask them questions and then they don't communicate. So it's like, okay, well, maybe just don't watch the videos if you don't like the version of the Bible. So chapter 16, verses 1 through 28 in the book of Matthew. So, demand for a sign. Feeling this. Verse 16, verse 1. The Pharisees and Sadducees came to Jesus and tested him by asking to show them signs from heaven. Okay. He replied, and this has got a footnote of F. In some early manuscripts, does not have the rest of verse 2 and all of verse 3. Ooh, so they don't agree. And that's really kind of the point of reading all these different versions. He replied, when evening comes, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And then in the morning, today will be stormy, for the sky is red and overcast. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation looks for a miraculous sign, but none will be given to them except the sign of Jonah. And then Jesus left and went away. So in some manuscripts, he doesn't tell them that they can predict the forecast by staring at the sky. It's okay. The yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Now remember, Pharisees are people who believe in the soul. They're like the ministers. Sadducees don't believe in the soul at all, so they're like our Congress. Verse 5. When they went across the lake, the disciples forgot to take bread. Be careful, Jesus said to them. Be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees. They discussed this amongst themselves and said, it is because we didn't bring any bread. Aware of their discussion, Jesus asked, you have little faith. Why are you talking among yourselves about having no bread? Like, why are you talking about food? Do you still not understand? Don't you remember the 5 loaves for the 5,000 and how many basketfuls you gathered? Or the 7 loaves for the 4,000 and how many basketfuls you gathered? Or the 7 loaves for the 4,000 and how many basketfuls you gathered? Or how is it that you don't understand that I was not talking to you about bread? Like, I can make food appear to feed thousands of people, and you think I'm worried about how much bread you packed? Or I'm going to let you starve? But be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Then they understood he was not telling them to be on guard against yeast used in bread, but against the teachings of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Peter's confession of Christ. Verse 13. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, which is a Roman province at the time, he asked his disciples, who do people say the Son of Man is? They replied, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. But what about you? Who do you say I am? Simon Peter answered, you are the Christ, or the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Jesus replied, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by man, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter. B. Peter means rock. And on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades, C, or hell, yeah, because that's what it is for the Greek people. Hades is hell. Will not overcome it. D, or not prove stronger than it. Now, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be, or have been. And so past tense, present tense, or future tense, I should say. Future tense, past tense. Bound in heaven. And whatever you loose on this earth, E, in Greek, this life means, this word means life or soul. And it's also in verse 26. Will be loosed in heaven. Then he warned his disciples not to tell anyone he was the Christ. Okay, so Jesus is the first one to affirm that, verbally out loud, that Jesus is the Messiah amongst the apostles. So he guards the gates of heaven and hell. He's whether or not you get it. Because if you don't get into heaven, then you go into hell. I mean, that's really when you're at that place. So, I mean, there's reincarnation, in my opinion, in between, but that's not mainstream Christianity. Jesus predicts his death. Verse 21. From that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, chief priests, and teachers of the laws, and that he must be killed on the third day to be raised to life. But Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Never, Lord. This shall never happen to you. Like, I cannot let these people hurt you. Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men. You are relying entirely on your own, faith and will and your own understanding and not the will of God." Then Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life," life or soul, interchangeably, because this is verse 26, "will lose it. But whoever loses his life for me will find it. What good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world, yet he forfeits the soul?" You can't serve money and God at the same time. You're serving one or the other. "For what can a man give in exchange for his soul?" I don't know. You don't own your soul, so don't be stupid. For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what they have done. You can only reap what you sow. I tell you the truth, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So Jesus will be in the kingdom of heaven, sitting at the right hand of the Father, risen bodily from the dead in fulfillment of the scriptures before any of these people die. So he's saying to your friends, you will see it in your lifetime. You will see it before you die, because you will see it soon, because I have to go do all these things. In order to be the Messiah, I have to be willing to be killed. And that is how he does that. And it's hard enough for him. He doesn't need his friends telling him he doesn't have to, because that's to him would be a temptation of Satan. He believes that he's fulfilling God's will in what he's doing. And I can't say I disagree with him. Because to me, Jesus is the Son of the living God. He is the Messiah. He died. And on the third day, he rose again in fulfillment with the scriptures. He's my Messiah. That's what makes me unpossessable. It means Satan can't get a foothold over here. And that's a blessing. Until a little bit later, friends.